In this video, we are going to cover the creation of our products administration screen.
Alright, cool.
Now, the products admin screen is going to be very much like the news section. It is the same general idea.
Right.
We need a screen that will allow us to enter products into the system, will allow us to display all products currently in the system,
Right.
and allow us to edit products.
So pretty much it's going to be exactly the same. Except we're going to add that little thing in there where you can order it the way you want to.
Exactly. It's going to be the same type of admin script with the additional ability to order things.
Okay, cool.
To set up the display order.
Yeah.
Not talking about like an order button for a
store.
So let's get started. Since we're going to be creating a screen that is so similar to the news entry page, we can actually start with that page.
Take a shortcut.
So here's our news, or our admin news PHP script. Let's open that up in Go Live, and let's say open. It's saying it can't find the encoding tag at the very beginning.
Okay.
That's because we replaced it with a PHP tag.
Oh, that's right. That's correct.
So what do we need to do to change this into a products administration screen? Well, for starters, to be safe, let's do a save as and call this admin_products, just so we don't get carried away and overwrite our news file.
Okay. Yeah, that would not be good. All that work gone down the drain.
So this is now adminproducts.php. The next thing we'll do is we'll need to modify our form to reflect the correct information for a product.
Right.
So instead of a news header, we would have things like product title. And we would have a short description. And a long description. And featured and active can stay because we have the same fields.
Okay.
Though we are going to need to add one extra row to this entire table for display order.
Okay.
So the quickest way to do that would probably be to jump into the source. I'm sure there's other ways that this could be done. It's just I happen to like working in the source as we've been doing a lot of PHP coding. So a very easy way that we could add an extra field is to grab this last row where the input button is on and simply take the entire thing, copy it, and paste it in.
Paste it.
As a matter of fact, I wonder if it would look better above the checkboxes. Let's see what this would look like. Of course, we'll take the submit button out and instead put a field in place. As a matter of fact, I'll just copy one of these fields. And we can edit this cell. You can see that this cell being copied from where the submit button was is set to a line right.
Okay.
So let's set that back to left. And finally, we're going to be using this field for the display order.
Okay.
So we don't want it to stretch all the way across. We're going to be putting a number in like 10, maybe 100 if you had 100 products.
I got
so we don't need a field that stretches all the way across the form. So what I'll do is I'll go to where we had this set to the text field style and uncheck that. And instead specify the width the visible columns property.
Okay.
We can lower this to something like 10, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
5.
There you go, that's plenty.
So what is this field going to be? It will be the display order.
Cool.
So that should work.
Right.
Now one other thing is that this short description, this is going to be a description field. So instead of having a simple text field, we could approach about 100 characters or so. And to make sure that that doesn't become a problem with a field, we're actually going to delete this out and use a full text area instead.
Oh, I see, okay.
So now that we have everything basically laid out visually, let's go back in and name all our fields appropriately for the data that they are going to contain. This is going to...
Yeah, so it's like, because right now it'd still be referring back to the news section.
Right, and that could get confusing if we have to start mapping. All right, news header means title, and that would just...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So let's set up the name for our title field, which will simply be title to match the field that we have in the database. And while we're in here, since we can see the actual value, variable that we're going to be injecting through PHP, we can change that as well. Let's start setting up some variables like title. And then that takes care of that field.
All right.
We can move on to the news text area. Actually, I'm reading off from the inspection.
Yeah.
Saying, what news and products? No, in this case, this is the short description. So, short description. And then the following field is simply going to be
description.
then display order should be display underscore order. And the same for the variable name. Display order.
Cool.
Featured and active will stay the same because we have featured and active fields. Now, you notice we weren't able to set the content of the short description and description because of the way it's working, where content would want to throw literal less than and greater than signs around it instead of letting us type code. So to set those, we're going to jump into the source for each of those. And you can see that it did copy the PHP code along with each of these, so it's as simple as changing these to say short description and just description. So that has our field names put together. Now we need to modify the query that will be refilling this form with data. We'll move on to that before the actual input queries just because this data goes hand in hand. We'll get all of this in this area set up. So here we have the default values that were used in the news section. We need our ones for a product now. So we need variables like title, short description, long description, and once again featured and active can say the same.
Exactly the same, yeah.
Though we have a new field now. We have display order. So let's make sure we catch that, otherwise we're going to run into undefined variable notices. So we'll have display order. So that should have all our defaults set. Now we can do things like set all these variables from the MySQL result that we load. So will we have a header? No, that was for news. So we have title is equal to title. We have short description is equal to short description. Then regular description. And let's see, title. Did I erase the title field? I think I might have erased the
Looks
title.
like it. Makes you feel any better. I didn't catch it either. So.
Alright, this gives us our title, short description, and regular description.
Okay.
Now, we do want to make sure we grab display order.
Okay.
So display order equals the row for display order. Once again, featured and active get to stay the same because they're the same field name. So that has our variables all lined up. Now we need to make sure we modify the query, because it's not going to be too happy if we grab a record from news and then we're looking for things like title and short description. And let me make sure I kill out this $sign before that gives us any trouble. So back to the query. We need to select from products. And auto ID is fine. We have an auto ID. We're going to keep with the edit ID variables for sending data back and forth. And finally, item ID is also going to be left alone. So that should take care of the variables and the form itself. Now let's take a look at the queries that will create or update records. So we're going to go up to the top of the script and take a look at this. The form still has the same name, so this is fine. Once again, we can leave featured and active alone. Now we need to take a look at things where the actual names of our fields come into play. So once again, these are things like title, short description, and full description. So we'll paste these in, and we'll grab title, and even though the actual display order is a number, we still need to make sure that the query itself doesn't get messed up by a quote. MySQL will handle, if we try to put something that's not a number in, it'll probably end up defaulting to 0.
Ah, I see.
But we do have to make sure that the query works to begin with, because if we happen to have an unescaped quote in the display order field, that will mess up the SQL query before MySQL ever gets a chance to really process that as a number.
Okay.
So we still need to make sure that we run our escape on quotes. So this means setting up an escape scenario for display order. Like such. Now, taking a look at creating a new record. we're going to be inserting information into the products table. And the fields of interest are title, short description, regular description, featured, active, and in what order did we put that display order? That was at the very end.
Right.
Though technically, since we're specifying fields here, we could put that before or after.
Okay.
Just to keep with consistency, though, I'll put it at the end.
Just for quick reference, of course.
Yep. So, here we have the fields that we want to work with. And then our variables that we set above would be title, short description, regular description, featured and active are good, and we need a display order field. So I've copied this last line. I'm going to make sure I put a comma after this one, so we have a comma up until the last. And finally, we can place our display order variable. So that should handle adding a new record. Now the only thing we should have left for the data part is update. I guess you could say update and delete. We'll get to that in a minute, though. Alright, so in the update SQL, we will say we're going to update products. And then we are going to set all of our relevant stuff. So this will be things like title, short description, regular description, and let me... and featured and active are good. Though we want to be able to update our display order, so paste that in, and make sure we kill off any extra dollar signs that might have been copied along. So, update product set. Alright, now we need to update the left side. Title, short description, featured and active remain the same, and auto ID remains the same, so that should be good. Alright, that takes care of adding a new record, updating an existing record.
Right.
So now we need to make sure that delete is set up, because this could be kind of dangerous if we skip this part. This is very simple. If we were to delete from news and specify an ID, this would still be valid. Especially if, what if one of these records, or the auto IDs, matched an auto ID from news? We would actually accidentally delete a news item by attempting to delete a product. So that wouldn't be good at all.
And vice versa?
No, not vice versa. We haven't, because the news system is all on its own. This is, at the moment, pointing to news. We need to make sure that this points at products. Otherwise, we could have the product screen accidentally delete news.
I gotcha. That wouldn't be good.
No, not at all.
That would be very, very bad.
So we'll need to make sure we update this delete from products, where auto ID is the given ID.
Right, I gotcha.
So with that should have all of the basics covered. As a matter of fact, that should have everything we need covered. Now it's just a matter of testing this and making sure that it does in fact work.
Do some troubleshooting.
So let's take a look. Here is our browser. Let's navigate to the admin products PHP script. Ooh,
look at that.
Alright, so it looks like some queries will have to be modified. We're grabbing news and the product screen. So let's take a look at that. It looks like we simply missed the query. Select from products where auto ID. That looks right.
You know, this is actually a good thing that this is happening, is because, you know, some mistakes are the best teaching tools. Because if you're new to PHP, you're going to have mistakes like this all the time. So it's just something that, you know, just to keep you, in mind, don't panic. Just go back, take your time, look over. There may be something as simple as an asterisk in the wrong spot, or, you know, something stupid like that. So, you know, we make mistakes as much as you guys do.
So this is a little interesting. Even though this is products, and we are on the products page, let me actually run that query from the MySQL monitor.
Okay.
Select star from products. So that is an empty set. That must mean something is messed up in the script itself. So I have select star from products where auto ID is set. Result is the result of that query and all. So admin products. This screen. That's interesting. These screens are behaving properly. At least it looks like they are.
Mm-hmm.
The item ID being blank and all that. And it's really odd that it's able to pull this information. So we have things like $title.
Mm-hmm.
$title. It's from row title. Select star from products. Let's try something here. Let's echo out the query that we're running.
Just so you can see what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll echo our query and rerun. So, latest news. Where did that dump out to? Oh, I see, that's under edit. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong part of the script. What we need to do is edit the one down here.
Oh, okay. See?
That really threw me for a loop there for a second. We have to keep in mind. So what was the problem here?
Mm-hmm.
There are two different cases within the script where we run selects.
I see.
One of those cases is when we are editing a product. And that one we corrected.
I see.
The second time we run a select is when we want to list all items currently in the database.
Right.
And that's in the second section, the lower, that's actually right next to the Add New Item button.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to change this one. Say select star from
So
product.
this could be a common mistake, too.
Right.
That happens a lot if you have the same query over and over.
Yes, make sure that obviously all queries are going to have to be updated.
Right.
So we've got this set up. Mm-hmm. Now we want to, here's the first example of using the order by. Mm-hmm. In this case, we want to order by our display order. And this way, our admin screen will reflect the final order of all of our products.
I gotcha. Okay.
And in this case, we don't want to order in descending order. We want to have lower values appear first.
Okay.
So we'll save that up, and now let's run the script. There we go.
And there we go.
So now we could do some aesthetic changes, like change headline to say headline, and even the top where we have latest news. Mm-hmm. So we could go back into layout and say things like headline. This is instead product.
Mm-hmm.
And even things like the title for the page. Though we're not going to get too deep into that because, once again, we want to focus on the PHP side of things.
I see, okay.
So, let's see, we'll fix product here. We'll go here and change this to say add.
Say add new product.
Yeah. Like such.
There.
So now, add new product, add product. So let's try this out. Let's try adding a product. Product title. I'm going to do the simple debug where I simply put the name of the field.
Okay.
Short, normal. The display order for this, we'll start it at 1.
Okay.
We'll say that it is active.
Alrighty. Submit it, and what's going on?
Back in our display section, we have a handful of other things to set. We spent so much time covering the form in depth that we completely forgot to update the rest of our list display.
I see.
Right after we updated this query to reflect products, we now need to jump down into this section where we have things like headlines still existing.
I see.
And headline needs to be title.
So he's just like, dude, there is no headline.
And there we go.
And
now
there we
we're
go.
displaying this product. So let's see if we can edit the title, or edit the product in general. We can see right off the bat we are correctly loading the information back in, though it looks like we might have a problem with display order. Remember, we set that to 1.
Right.
And now it's 0.
It's 0 again.
So let's investigate that first. The first thing we need to make sure of is, do we have good data in the database? So I'll go over to the MySQL monitor, rerun the select star from products, and we can see that display order is 0. This means we must have lost its value when we were first adding the record.
I see.
So let's take a step back and correct this problem first. Back in our main form, we have a field called display order.
Right there, okay.
So display order looks good there. The next place that this comes into play is when we're adding the record.
I see.
And here's the problem.
Okay.
Remember when I was copying all of these values?
Right.
I accidentally threw a $sign within this key.
I see.
$sign display order isn't a key that has anything in it. So if we remove this, that should work.
Okay.
So let's make sure. If we go back over here, Now let's try setting this to 1 and submitting.
And there we go.
Where auto ID equals 1. Display order equals 1. So let's take a look at this.
All right.
Closer, but...
So what's the feedback that it was giving us?
The feedback that it was giving us is when attempting to update, it encountered a problem. So the reason we probably got this is up until now we have not actually updated a record. We've added a record, but we haven't updated one.
Oh, I see.
So let's look here. I see what the problem is. Last time, the update syntax finished off at this line. And we, of course, don't have the comma because it was the last one. This is no longer the last item.
Oh,
so we need our comma.
All right, cool.
So let's save that, step back, and rerun our edit. And it looks like it worked. Let's load it up.
Check it out. And
now we have display order 1.
Cool.
So if we set this to a 2 and submit and load,
once again,
and now
boom,
it's a 2.
that's display order 2.
So it's all the other fields appear to be working as normal because they are updating these. So if any other problem occurred, these would get messed up. But I'll try changing this one. So we have title edited. So this works. The final thing that we need to verify is the delete button.
I see.
So here it goes.
Click it. And boom,
and
it is
takes
gone.
Good care of the product. So with that now, that has our product screen all set up and running.
Cool.
So once again, we started with the news admin screen because our admin screens in this case all deal with creating records one at a time, then going back and editing records.
Right.
We took advantage of the similarities between our admin screens and based the product administration screen off of the news admin. That gave us a good starting point where we had a working form in place and a working display.
Right.
We then changed all of the necessary field names and variables to reflect fields in our products table. And finally, we took a look at a little bit of debugging here and there, just because.
Well, it's a good thing too that it happened because I know for a fact that if I was new to it, I didn't get any warnings when that happened. If you notice, there was no warnings that popped up. It just started showing you some weird data from the news section. So it's saying, no, there's nothing wrong. I mean, here's the stuff you're looking for. So that should tell you right off the bat if you're getting some, data from a different area that you something in there hasn't been changed yet. You should go check it out, especially if you're copying code like we were doing.
Right. Because it turns out there's actually quite a few values in use and throughout the script.
Yeah.
So really, with that, this gives us a fully working products administration screen. And that is going to wrap up this lesson.